Welcome back to another Micmac tabletop review. Today we'll be taking a look at the KelTec P32 semi-automatic micro pistol. This is the KelTec P32, a 32 caliber pocket pistol. A quick scan of reviews out there on the P32 reveals that this is a very popular little pistol. It's small, thin, and very light. Yes, I know. Kel-Tec CNC Industries, the Florida company that produces the P32, hasn't had the best reputation. But ironically, the KelTec P32 pistol itself is highly respected. I bought this one a few months ago. If you've watched my videos, you know that I typically try to buy used guns in an effort to save a few bucks. Usually I won't buy until I find a really good deal. But to be frank, rarely do I see used P32s for sale, and when I do, the price is usually close to that of a new one. So even more frustrating is that KelTec produces their guns in batches, so even a new one can be hard to find. So when I saw this one not only available but on sale, I decided it was time to buy, and so here it is. Now before we go any further, let's make sure this gun is cleared first. And by the way, if you enjoy this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now you might be asking, why would I buy a KelTec P32? Good question. The short answer is that the P32 is the thinnest and lightest 32 pistol still in production today. My primary carry pistol is the SIG P232 SL. I've carried it for years. It's an absolutely beautiful pistol. It's not only elegant, its function is unquestionably superb. But the P232 is a little heavy. And even though I've had several holsters to carry in different ways if needed, there are times that I just find it uncomfortable or unacceptable to carry. And that's when I think it's good to have options. One option I have is this teeny tiny Camp 32 pocket pistol. I've had this little gun for years. It's very, very small. The Camp is also quite an elegant weapon with legendary craftsmanship. Now while I love this Camp and it has served me well, it's also a little heavy. Also, it has no sights and there's no practical way to attach a laser. So the question is, could this KelTec P32 equipped with maybe a belt clip and perhaps even a laser serve as a lighter, thinner, concealable alternative? Another option, if you will. It's something to think about. Now let me just talk a little bit about 32s. I like 32s. There was a time, not long ago, when the 32s ruled. Remember that the famous James Bond Walther PPK was a 32 pistol. And in fact, did you know that the 32 ACP has been chambered in more handguns than any other cartridge? Of course, the 32 has been replaced by the larger 380 and 9mm options that become very popular guns today. In fact, with the development of compact and micro polymer 9mm single stack pistols, the smaller pocket pistols themselves have just lost some popularity. If you are regularly carrying a 380 or larger firearm, that's great. But the sad truth of it is that I know a lot of people who have bought a 380 and even a 9mm pocket pistol and found they don't really carry them. I hear complaints like the small 380s tend to be too snappy to shoot and control, but then I also hear complaints that the compact or micro 9mm tend to be too bulky and heavy for real daily pocket carry. Yes, some have moved on to larger, more comfortable to shoot carry options, but probably even more have just given up carrying it all. Personally, I believe there's too much emphasis on capacity and caliber size and too little on skill, competency, and shot placement. But personally, I recommend training and becoming confident and proficient enough that you can quickly and efficiently make all your shots count. As for caliber, I agree, bigger is usually better. And yes, more rounds increase your chances. But let's face it, typically a single 22 bullet in the right spot is going to produce a far better outcome than a bunch of misses with a 45. While I hear the arguments for larger ballistics all the time, my other observation is that the smaller and more discreet the firearm, the more likely it is that it will actually be carried. And of course, any weapon you carry is better than the one you left at home. So while we certainly have the option available for higher capacity and larger caliber ammo, let's also consider the potential for a pocket pistol that would be comfortable to shoot, offer good controllability and accuracy, yet be so slim and light that the inconvenience of carry would be nearly eliminated. Yep, I'm suggesting that a .32 pistol might be the answer. With the right ammo, I personally believe that you'll find the .32 will reach the necessary penetration requirements to make it a viable self-defense carry option. Okay, so let's say I've convinced you to at least take a look at a .32 caliber option. Well, here's the thing. There are only a few manufacturers even making .32 pistols today. In fact, when it comes to companies producing .32 pocket pistols, there are only 3. Unfortunately, I have examples of each, and they're all very well respected. First, you've got the Beretta Tomcat 32. With its pop-up barrel, compact Beretta design, and solid reputation, the Tomcat remains a very popular choice when it comes to .32 pistols. The Tomcat has a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $650, and while it's a little thick and heavy, there are many holster options and accessories available. Second, there's the very tiny and prestigious Seacamp 32. With a manufacturer's suggested retail price of about $580, the Seacamp 32 is probably the highest sought after pocket pistol today, known for its clean, elegant, lightweight design, compact size, legendary durability, and reliability. Very nice little gun. Sure, both the Beretta Tomcat and Seacamp certainly have their pros and cons, but what's important here is that if you want a .32 pistol that's being produced today, you've got only one more option. Yep, it's the KelTec P32. With a manufacturer's suggested retail price of only about $370, the KelTec P32 isn't only the most affordable, it's also the thinnest and lightest of all the .32s available today or ever produced. So back to my comment about discreet. You can't get more discreet when it comes to pocket carry pistols in production today than the KelTec P32. At 3/4 of an inch thick and weighing less than 7 ounces, the gun can be carried anywhere in any position. Seriously, the P32 can be tucked into the pocket or an ankle holster or in a belly band better than any .32 or larger pistols I know of. Really. And that's why we're looking at the P32 today. So what about KelTec? Well, KelTec CNC Industries Incorporated, commonly referred to as KelTec, is a privately owned American company and a developer and manufacturer of firearms. Founded in 1991 and based in Cocoa, Florida, the company has manufactured firearms since 1995, starting with semi-automatic pistols and expanding to rifles and then shotguns. Yes, KelTec has had a history of quality control and design issues. By contrast, the KelTec P32 has actually had a pretty good reputation overall. And the good news is that KelTec has done a pretty good job of cleaning up its act, and also their customer service has been responsive to customer complaints. But yes, I'll acknowledge that the stigma that comes from producing a poor product is hard to outrun. Regarding the KelTec P32, however, it was introduced in 1999. It is considered the thinnest and lightest pistol in production today. KelTec initially designed the P32 as a backup gun for law enforcement. It's small, easily carried, and convenient, but with the rise of interest in concealed carry, it took on a new life as an ultra-small, easy-to-shoot option for self-defense. The interesting thing about the KelTec P32 is that it's remained so popular and sought after through its 25 years of production. In fact, there are many internet review comments which suggest that the P32 was and is the best product KelTec has ever produced. Here we are. We have a nice plastic case, one magazine, a pouch, a lock, manual, and the usual paperwork. As for specifications, this is a single stack hammer-fired locked-breech, short-recoil, double-action only design. The slide is blue steel. Slide serrations are well defined, but just enough area to get a minimal grip. Sights are integrated into the slide. Fixed notch rear and post front. These are better than the sights on their first generation P32, which were really minuscule. The gun is snag free and smooth all over except for the grip textured surface. The grip stippling is aggressive. The frame is aluminum with polymer exterior. The serial number is located here. The long external leaf spring here is the extractor. There's no external safety and no slide, hold open lever, or release, but the P32 slide will stay open after the final shot. Releasing the magazine will release the slide. Overall length is 5.07 inches. Barrel length is 2.68 inches. Height is 3.5 inches. Width is 0.75 inches. Unloaded weight, 6.6 ounces. It's about 9 ounces fully loaded. Capacity is 7+1 with the flush magazine, 10+1 with the extended magazine. The trigger is double action only and has a pull weight of about 5 pounds. Trigger take-up is about 1/4 inch with at least 3/4 inch length of pull at about 5 pounds with a smooth stiffening roll-off. Trigger reset is all the way out, but you'll hear and feel a midway click before the reset click. It's a little odd, but as a double action only pocket carry pistol with no external safety, the long trigger pull is the safety. Now how about function? As I said, the KelTec P32 is a hammer-fired, locked-breech, short recoil, double action only design. While locked-breech short recoil is a common design in larger pistols, most pocket pistols are direct blowback designs. So what, you might say? Well, the short recoil helps reduce overall felt recoil. Compared to the felt recoil of the Seacamp 32 and the Beretta 32, the KelTec feels slightly tamer. And you'll find that in comparison to some of the popular smaller 380 pistols, the P32 will only have about half the energy recoil. So as a result, with the P32 you experience a much easier to shoot weapon with better control and target reacquisition capabilities, and a caliber still capable of adequate penetration. Add the fact that this is probably the thinnest, lightest 32 or larger caliber pocket pistol you're going to find, and you'll see why many consider the P32 to be the perfect pistol for concealed carry and a great compromise of size, power, and capacity. The traditional magazine release location is here, and the magazine will fly out upon release. The polymer grips are narrow, short, and very thin, and look and feel a bit cheap to me. Some people have felt the grip texture was too uncomfortable and they've added Talon grip tape or even sanded the texture area down a bit. The grips are so short, in fact, that I can barely get my ring finger on the grip, but then I have large hands with long fingers. Of course, the extended 10-round magazine or at least a grip extension would help with that. The blue steel magazine looks good. It loads easily, all 7 rounds without the need for a mag loader. The magazine has a nice solid fit into the magazine well, good click as it sets. Although quite small, the slide racks easily. Racking is light and smooth enough. Note how high the rear of the slide is to my hand. No risk of slide bite here. This gun is rounded and smooth all over. Sights are quite small. Of course, the P32 is an up-close get-off-me pocket pistol, not a target gun. So quick reaction, point and shoot training is a must if you're going to carry this little gun. For me, with my old eyes, at the range with slow aim fire, the sights are just usable. I've also been warned that the long trigger and the pistol's weight can make it easy to pull one's shots off the original point of range. Something to watch out for. Let's see how we do. Usually I start out at 12 to 18 feet for point and shoot pocket pistols, but I'm going to go ahead and set this profile target out to 24 feet, which is my standard training distance. Let's just see how I do. Well, it wasn't horrible, but this trigger and these sights do take some getting used to. Let's try that again. A little better, but not great. Let's try for center mass. Better. Let's try some rapid fire. This gun is going to require some practice. Let's try that again. Much better. I'm going to back up and take a few shots with my Beretta Tomcat 32 just for comparison. I brought it with me today. Again, 24 feet. The Beretta certainly feels better in my hand and it's easier to sight and keep on target, but it's also the one I seldom carry due to its weight and bulk. But it's certainly a nice gun. Now I'll take a few shots with my Camp 32. How about some rapid fire? The Camp has no sights and it's also the smallest, although it's slightly heavier and thicker at the grips than the Kel-Tec. Let's get back to the Kel-Tec and take the target out to 35 feet. Obviously, I need to practice a bit for anything further out than 25 feet. From what I've seen, this gun is probably capable of much better accuracy than I seem to be able to demonstrate. Okay, let's bring the target up a little closer and see how we do. The KelTec P32 is, after all, a close-up defensive weapon. So how about 18 feet? Now that's pretty good. I feel like I've already addressed the basic pros and cons of the KelTec P32, but recapping the obvious, the KelTec P32 isn't very attractive. There are no slide release, no safety, nothing. The only controls are the trigger and the magazine release. Its main asset of being so small and light, of course, is also one of its major cons when it comes to handling and operating. The sights are very small and the grips are thin. The trigger, pull, and reset are long. And one more point, the P32 does seem to get fairly dirty during extended use, which could be just a function of the ammo. Now on the positive side, the gun is indeed very small, thin, and light, but the recoil is probably the most comfortable you're going to find in a defensive 32. And unlike the Camp, it doesn't seem to be at all finicky about ammo. Accuracy is also pretty good for its size, better than you might expect, but it's not a range toy and the sights have proven to be a challenge for me. Practice is essential. And I've been told if kept clean, reliability and dependability are also pretty good. I shot 100 rounds right out of the box without a single issue. Sure, the build isn't very much to talk about, but for its price, the KelTec P32 is overall a pretty impressive pocket pistol. Finally, accessories include a 10-round magazine, a magazine extension, a belt clip, and importantly, an add-on grip-activated Crimson Trace laser. Oh yes, one more thing. Not only is it the lightest pocket carry available, if you use the KelTec belt clip to carry the P32, you'll also have the lightest and slimmest profile of any firearm I know. Clipped inside my jeans at about 4 o'clock where the leather belt patch usually is, the KelTec just disappears. Compared to a Glock 42 with a belt clip, for example, the KelTec is downright minuscule. In either a pocket holster or using the belt clip, there's just no reason not to carry this little guy. To disassemble, remove the magazine. Use a sharp screwdriver to carefully pry the takedown pin out here on the left side of the frame. Remove the slide forward, then remove the recoil spring and rod, then the barrel. That's it. Reassembly is just the opposite. Return the barrel, rod, and recoil spring to the slide. Return the slide to the frame and insert the takedown pin. If the slide won't slide back, check that the hammer is fully cocked. Install the magazine and test for function. That's it. KelTec has a suggested retail price of $369 listed for the P32. TrueGunValue.com currently suggests an average retail price of about $350 for a new KelTec P32. The average value of a used KelTec P32 is listed at about $300. Genetron.com suggests an average used price closer to about $275. That's consistent with what I've been seeing at new gun outlets 280 to 350, but usually out of stock. And at auctions for used pistols, no box or extra magazine, close to $300. By the way, keep in mind, if an auction purchase, you can expect to add an additional $60 to $75 in shipping and transfer fees. So basically, people are paying almost new gun retail costs for a used gun, which is why I decided to buy this one new. Now, before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. Well, in summary, KelTec made the P32 as a lightweight, easily concealable backup gun for law enforcement. It's not fancy by any stretch of the imagination, but it is functional, reliable, and affordable. Unfortunately, it's also well known that KelTec firearms, especially earlier designs, were plagued with performance issues. Although the P32 itself actually has had a good reputation overall, being a KelTec product will cause some potential buyers to hesitate. But many have been won over by the P32's affordable price, small size, dependability, light handling characteristics, and minimal recoil. Basically, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better deep cover pistol today. Performance-wise, this little gun functioned flawlessly throughout its range testing with its first 100 rounds. And now, having run more than an additional 200 rounds of assorted ammo through the gun, I confirm its reliability. Wrapping up, I found the KelTec P32 to be quite deceiving. Construction looks mediocre. You can see the seams in the polymer frame. Plastic roll pins look cheap. The slide finish is okay but uninspiring. I found the grip texture unpleasant, and overall the look of the P32 is just dull. On the other hand, racking the slide is easy. While the grip texture is aggressive, it does stick to your hand fairly well and allows for sure handling during drawing, firing, and reholstering. And yes, although the C-Camp is indeed smaller, the KelTec P32 is quite small, and it's definitely thinner and lighter than the C-Camp. As such, if you can't find a way to comfortably carry, you're simply not trying. And using the KelTec belt clip, the P32 practically disappears. I find it completely forget I'm even carrying it. I like that it's so light that even fully loaded, it doesn't feel like any weight on my pants pocket, my gun belt, or my pants. Which is something to consider when you're taking bathroom breaks. Trust me on this. There's a hell of a difference between my beloved everyday carry 26-ounce SIG P232 SL or Beretta Tomcat at about 16 ounces, or even my 14-ounce C-Camp compared to this ridiculously little and light 9-ounce fully loaded P32. I'm just saying. The P32 is also the most comfortable firearm I've ever carried in an ankle holster. And here's the thing, the P32 demonstrated reliable and accurate shooting. In fact, although I can't honestly say I've ever really enjoyed range time with my C-Camp 32 or even my Beretta Tomcat 32, this little KelTec P32 is actually rather fun to shoot. I'll admit I hadn't expected that. And one more thing. I can add a very light, compact Crimson Trace laser grip system to this gun. I kind of like that idea. Okay, so if my statement about the smallest, most discreet firearm being the one most likely to be carried has any validity to it, then the KelTec P32 certainly ought to check all those boxes for a weapon that you'll have no excuse for leaving home without. And that leads us to the final point. Any weapon you carry is better than the one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.